Happy day, YouTube. My name is John, and this is my channel, The Intermancer. On the last episode of this project, I encountered a problem where Visual Studio Code was glitching out and not generating a scored organism repository interface for me for some reason. It probably was a stupid reason, but to be honest, I had been thinking that it was about time for me to move over to IntelliJ. And so rather than debug Visual Studio Code, I did exactly that. I got an IntelliJ license and I signed up for the AI account and I got it all set up with the Gaia F Core project. And you can see here, right here, that I quickly generated that scored organism repository interface just with the inline stuff, or with the little chat option, the AI chat option here. That all being said, this is for me a little bit of a brave new world. See, I have been purposefully taking the hard path. I have been avoiding using a lot of the AI tools that a lot of people swear by, like Cursor or Claude Code or some of these agentic systems that do a lot of the coding for you. So even having a system that allows me to do queries inline while I'm in my classes is a little bit of a departure from the path that I have been walking heretofore. That being said, I think it is time for me to expand a little, and I'm a little excited to be taking this next step of my journey. I don't consider myself behind my peers who are using those tools because as I've been sharing, I've been taking this context-first approach, and I think I have been learning a lot about describing the context of a large system and learning how to work with AI as a true partner rather than as a, for lack of a better word, a steed or something that is just doing all the work while I'm directing it where to go. So that's what we're going to do here. Is we're going to continue working with AI as a partner inside of IntelliJ with the AI account. And you'll see here that it's connected to Claude 4.5 Sonnet. I have a list of options that I could use. It doesn't look like Claude 4.5 Opus is available, but Claude 4.5 Sonnet is pretty freaking awesome. So we can go with that. If I decide for some reason that I need to use Claude 4 Opus or Claude 4.5 Opus, if that's even a thing yet, haven't looked, then I'll just go over to the website, and I still have the project and keep things updated there. So all of that being said, what I'm doing next is to work on the scored organism, the in-memory scored organism repository. Let's see. Create an in-memory implementation of the scored organism repository. Use the description provided in experimentation.md. See about just giving it straightforward directions and see what it does. Didn't like me having the dot right after the MD. It's good to know. Okay, put it in the right package. Current hash map. Using binary search. Illegal argument exception. Get random from bottom percent. And marked with @repository. So now, though I bill myself as a Spring expert, there are a lot of details in Spring and a lot of things that some people might find common. So a lot of us who have a lot of experience in Spring might not know. I don't know the details of the @repository annotation. So before I just accept this as it is, I am going to ask about it. Let's see, what do these apply? Open file, copy to clipboard, insert a create file from snippet. Let's go ahead and do that. I'll create it first. Okay, I put it all the way down here for some reason. So we put it in the right place. In Spring component scanning, it's a special component, which means Spring automatically detect. Okay. Data access object or repository, a class that encapsulates storage, retrieval, and search behavior for a collection of objects. Spring automatically translates database related to using okay. That's fair. At this point that since I'm doing an in-memory implementation, I'm not getting a whole lot of benefit because a lot of the repositories for JDBC stuff. Semantic. Okay. Okay. Generate a test for Let's see what it does with this. Telling it to just generate a test, because I do think it should have a good test class. MCP tool. I guess this is also me kind of seeing what the AI assistant that IntelliJ provides is good for. To be honest, I haven't heard many great things for that tool, so we'll see what it does. Okay. I'm just reading. All I'm reading here is these display names because it's got some text for what these tests are doing. I'm not going through and reading all the details. I'll actually just accept the thing and then read through it once I've accepted it. Currently open file. Throws exception. These are actually pretty good tests that it's to, a lot of times when you generate a test class like this, it tests for stupid stuff. But this is all stuff I would like to test for. Should throw exception when repository is empty. Okay. Man, Claude Sonnet 4.5 is pretty sharp. Where's it getting this mocked organism? Okay, so it just creates an organism. I guess that's fair. I don't need a functional organism for the scored organism repo. Okay, so let us then, this is in the evaluate package. So let's add it. New Java class. In memory scored organism repository test. So it's applying this snippet to the class the file I just created, and it should overwrite everything. Let's see what we get. Okay, I'll go ahead and accept all, but I bet it's going to give me a compile error right here. Okay, obviously I just don't know how to read that input. It's probably some diff format that I'm just not used to seeing, because it seems to be going just fine. Let's test it. Let's run it. It's taking a bit to instantiate. I wonder if I'm at the limits of my machine here. Ran fast once it got there. Okay. So, it's a lot of good stuff. Added, scored, organism, a repo, interface, an in-memory implementation of the repo, and a test for the implementation. Oh, I should probably, before I do this, run a Gradle build on everything. Let's see if the build happens good. Build successful. Compile test classes up to date. Wow. All right, commit and push. What's the code analysis? Unused import statement. Oh, right. Push. Now jump over to GitHub, make sure everything went, because I'm paranoid that way. "16 seconds ago." Good. Okay, so that was a lot. That was a lot. A lot with fairly little effort. Although, like happened before when I generated a test and I wasn't watching what it was doing for me, I ran into some problems. So now that I've committed everything and pushed it up, let's go through this through a little bit more detail. Save, new, null ID. Okay. It's got an ID. It's not empty. The ID is a string. The score is the same. And the organism ID is the same. That's good. Custom ID, okay. All right. Test get ID by throws accept get by ID there. Okay. Look at that. That's awesome. All right. frankly, this is doing a lot. This is just right below all of the stuff that you hear about people doing with Claude Code. And truth be told, after some time, it might be very little difference between what I would be doing with Claude Code and what I'm doing here, which would be fine if along the way I maintain my complete awareness of the system, how it works, and everything. From top percent. Generating random organisms that just don't have any functional capability. Giving them a score. Okay. Get from top percent. Score is greater than or equal to 9 from top percent. The top percent would be 0. So let's see. 0.2 from top percent. From bottom percent. Okay. Huh. So, what do I want to do there? Scores for scored organism are better the closer they are to 0. Because we're looking at scores, we want since this is a predictive system, if it has perfect prediction, then there's 0 difference between the actual numbers and the predicted numbers. So closest to 0 is better. So the top percent in the scored organism repository and its implementations should be the scores, should be the scores scores closest to 0. First, let's look at the comments on scored organism repository. Let's see. Returns a random score organism. Okay. Let's add a comment here. Note. No. Context first, John. Context first. So let's go to experimentation. Nice. It's got a markdown reader. It just comes with it. I don't have to have a plugin. Experiment life cycle. Scored organism repository. First off, I want to get rid of this line. Doesn't make any sense. Since this is a predictive system, how do I turn on word wrap here? Okay, I'll turn on word wrap in a little while. What just happened? What was I just typing? Okay, whatever. Since this is a predictive system, scores closer to 0 are better. The top percentage therefore is determined by the lowest absolute value of the score. Do I want scores to always be positive? Determined by the lowest scores. And similarly, bottom highest. Okay. I have updated experimentation MD accordingly. What changes need to be made to scored organism repository? Scored in memory, scored organism repository, and in memory scored organism repository test. Now, this is one of those places where I'm really glad I read the test, right? Because this is one of those things where if I'd have kept going with my coding down the road, this would be a big change that I would have to go back and fix a bunch of stuff like we've seen. So hopefully I'm learning my lesson and you fine people are getting to see me learn my lessons. All 48 subscribers. Although I doubt 48 of people are watching all of this. Okay. Scored organism repository interface. Organism repository. right, let's apply this. Okay, so this gray is where it's deleting. This blue is where it's adding. Modifying. And green is where it's adding. That's what that diff looks like. So we'll accept all. And now in-memory scored organism repository. Let's do the apply here. I'm not going to read everything it's doing in an in-memory scored organism repository. I'm just not. I've looked at some of the stuff that Claude has generated. I will look at some of the changes. Okay, to comments. Cutoff index is going with, okay, instead of taking the one there and then a bit on this other one, it does 1 minus, size minus, yep, okay. So I'm just going to accept this without going into detail on it. But then for the test, I'm going to make sure I understand everything it's doing. Because tests keep things sane. Okay, so what's it doing here? Maintain some order. Okay, and it's just comparing them there, that's fine. Test get random from top percent. Okay. What unused import statement? Okay, that's all code analysis. Okay, this one does need a comma. Let's write about that. It wants the. All right, whatever. I'll take it just to shut IntelliJ up. I'm going to try to keep all my warnings as low as possible. And if it's one I can handle, I will handle it. All right. Now we'll do the build again. All right, and the grade old didn't execute to the test because that's why it's so efficient, because it doesn't retest things it doesn't need to. Updated everything because lower scores are better. So the top percentage has a lower score. Commit and push. Push. All right. This is a good stopping point. You can see, I will say, one thing that is immediately quicker is that applying the changes in the file straight into IDE, not having to bounce back and forth between the web browser and the IDE, clearly has value. When I was using Visual Studio Code, it was not connecting to my Sonnet account. This is not my Sonnet account, or this is not my Claude account. This is through the IntelliJ IDEA AI assistant account that I've got. But it has all of the same context here. I just have been sure to mention which context files it should use. So we will continue this experiment later. Thank you for your time.